Light Shining Out of Darkness by William Cowper. The poem comprises 6 stanzas, each containing 4 lines. With the exception of lines 1 and 3 of the poem, the first and third lines of each stanza rhyme, as do the second and fourth lines. Cooper arguably drew inspiration from the Bible for some of the imagery in his poem. Stanza 1. God moves in a mysterious way, his wonders to perform. He plants his footsteps in the sea and rides upon the storm. The first stanza refers to storms and acknowledges that God's ways can seem inexplicable, thereby addressing an implied question. How can we reconcile human suffering with the promise of God's good providence? That God's ways far exceed human comprehension emerges from the imagery in line 3, in which God's course is likened to indiscernible steps in the sea. This imagery can also be understood along with that of the fourth line as a metaphorical demonstration of God's power to overcome raging storms and seas. Stanza 2. Deep in unfathomable mines of never failing skill, he treasures up his bright designs and works his sovereign will. The second stanza figures God's ways or designs as priceless treasures that are concealed in unfathomable mines. Unfathomable means something which cannot be explored or understood. The word unfathomable does double duty here as it signifies that the minds containing God's designs are both unknowable and immeasurable. The imagery Cooper uses in this stanza echoes that sound in the Bible's book of Job. As is stated in Job 28, people have the skill to mine gold and gems from the earth, but where can wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Man does not know the value, nor is it found in the land of the living. Stanza 3. Ye fearful saints, fresh courage take. The clouds you so much dread are big with mercy and shall break with blessings on your head. The third stanza exhorts Christians to find courage in their faith and trust that deliver God will ultimately deliver them from suffering. Once again, the poem invokes the image of a storm cloud as a metaphor for turmoil, but then transforms it into a vehicle for God's mercy. Thus, the dreaded clouds are big with mercy, not misfortune, and shall break on your head not miseries but blessings. Stanza 4. Judge not the Lord by feeble sense, but trust him for his grace. Behind a frowning providence, he hides a smiling face. According to the speaker, the clouds may look threatening, but that is a misconception resulting from the limitations of humankind's feeble sense. It is not possible to grasp God's grand design through sight or sound or intellect. Even the human imagination, boundless though it seems, is insufficient to envision the wonders of God's ways. His purposes will ripen fast. Unfolding every hour, the bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower. Compared to eternity, a human being's lifespan is quite brief. It may seem that our suffering lasts a long time, but within God's cosmic time frame, this bitterness passes quickly. Thus, in the fifth stanza, the speaker affirms God's purposes will ripen fast, and sweet will be the flower. For those who believe in God's grace, their reward or sweet flower is eternal life in God's heavenly kingdom. Stanza 6. Blind unbelief is sure to err and scan his work in vain. God is his own interpreter, and he will make it plain. However, what about those who don't believe? The speaker warns. Unbelief is sure to err because we are hopelessly blind with respect to God's mysterious work. It is only through belief in God's benevolence that we can experience it. In the poem's final two lines, the speaker reiterates that God alone comprehends his sovereign plan and he will reveal it in due time. William Cowper experienced a great deal of misery in his own life and may well have questioned God's ways. His mother died when he was 6 years old, and in his early 30s, he suffered an attack of deep depression. After an attempt at suicide, he was institutionalized for insanity and then released into the care of a retired clergyman. He moved with the clergyman's family to Olney, where he met John Newton. Because Cooper had already written numerous poems, Newton suggested they work together to create a hymn book. In 1773, Cooper experienced another bout of depression just after he completed Light Shining Out of Darkness. He described his mental anguish in writing, explaining that it was like scrambling always in the dark among rocks and precipices without a guide, but with an enemy ever at my heels prepared to push me headlong. Despite Cooper's agony, or perhaps because of it, his poem does not express doubt or disbelief in the promise of God's bright designs. Instead, it celebrates God's mysterious way as evidence that his infinite wisdom far exceeds human understanding and thereby merits our trust all the more. Now let us see the figures of speech used in the poem. Alliteration. The first line, God moves in a mysterious way. The eighth line, and works his sovereign will. Ye fearful saints, fresh courage take, are big with mercy and shall break. The bud may have a bitter taste. Anastrophe. For poetic effect, Cooper uses anastrophe, which means inversion of the normal word order in the first and fifth stanzas. God moves in a mysterious way, his wonders to perform. The normal word order would be God moves in a mysterious way to perform his wonders. So, this normal word order has been inverted. The bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower. The normal word order shall be: the bud may have a bitter taste, but the flower will be sweet. So, this way, Cooper has employed anastrophe. End rhyme. Except for lines 1 and 3, the rhyme scheme of the poem is AB, AB. The third stanza demonstrates the pattern. If fearful saints fresh courage take, the clouds ye so much dread are big with mercy and shall break in blessings on your head. The poem alternates between iambic tetrameter and iambic trimeter. Line 3 and 4 demonstrate the pattern. He plants his foot, steps in the sea, and rides upon the storm. Metaphor. Comparison of God's activity to footsteps in the sea. Comparison of God to a miner who digs up bright designs and stores them as treasures that he uses when he carries out his will. Comparison of mercy and blessings to rain from a cloud. Oxymoron. Frowning providence.